All right, that concludes the governor's lengthy news conference today. The president spoke earlier, and we had that on our second channel, H&I, and there will be much more about what the president and the National Coronavirus Task Force had to say coming up later on the CBS Evening News. Now, we are in the surge of coronavirus cases. That was the message from Governor Beshear tonight. The governor says Kentucky is nearing 700 cases of COVID-19. Today, he announced 93 new cases and at least 2 more deaths. The governor says the state cannot yet confirm a 3rd death announced today in Louisville, so likely 3 new deaths today. He expects to see cases escalating each day. We also learned the National Guard is being deployed to help food banks. So let's take a look at the latest map of Kentucky showing COVID-19 cases, and you can see more red daily. There are now cases confirmed in at least 70 of Kentucky's 120 counties, and we just learned a few moments ago about a second case in Perry County. The first one was just announced last night. We've just learned from health officials that there is a second case in Perry County, and there is another news conference scheduled in Perry County at Hazard City Hall at 6:30. We are going to try to at least stream that. We just learned about this moments ago, so we're scrambling to get down there. But again, the latest news is there is a second case in Perry County. No other details released as of yet. Now, we also learned today about a case in Pike County during a news conference by local officials there this afternoon. Since then, we've been trying to learn more about that case. We now know that person was an employee at Pikeville Medical Center. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has more on the county's response.
The 28-year-old man who tested positive for the coronavirus is an employee of Pikeville Medical Center.
Those of you who thought it would not get here, I hope and pray that this is a wake-up call for you.
He was possibly exposed to the virus by an employee at another healthcare facility, but the exact facility from which he contracted the virus is not known.
They are absolutely monitoring that person's condition for any changes. If the person were to get, more ill, then of course they would be able to go to the hospital, but they are being monitored, and any individuals that they came in contact with will be contacted.
The man is in self-isolation and is doing well. While officials say they did not want to see a case in the county, it did not come as a shock. Healthcare professionals are prepared, but they say battling the pandemic starts with you.
One beautiful thing about living here is that we don't have a dense population center. People are spread out more. That helps, but it doesn't help when people are running straight to Walmart, taking everybody with them.
What other precautions are county and city officials taking? Public gathering spaces recently shut down. Most businesses already closed to foot traffic.
It is imperative that the people of Pike County take this seriously.
Urging everyone to do their part to keep our community safe. In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, Pikeville Medical Center officials told us late this evening that the employee that tested positive is not a doctor. And you might have heard Governor Beshear was asked about how many healthcare workers across the state have tested positive for the coronavirus. He couldn't give an exact answer, but he believes more than 50 healthcare workers across the state have tested positive. I'm sure many of those are in the Louisville and Lexington areas. Now, we also learned that the Perry County man who tested positive yesterday, that we told you about yesterday anyway, is actually at Pikeville Medical Center. His condition is not known, but officials say he is in isolation in the intensive care unit. Another big blow for tourism today. The Kentucky Mountain Laurel Festival is canceled. The annual event in Bell County brings in people from all across the state, one of the oldest festivals in Kentucky. Officials said this was a hard decision to make, as the festival is certainly a staple in the Pineville community. The festival was set to begin on May 21st. Eastern Kentucky is in a unique position right now to fight COVID-19. While there are a handful of confirmed cases now in the region, we are not as hard hit as places like Lexington and Louisville. But when and if we do see a surge in cases here, that's when things get much more difficult. WYMT's Connor James explains why.
Well, hello from this makeshift studio inside our home right here. What this map shows is every hospital in every county. If you click on Lexington and Fayette County, you can see that there are 12 hospitals here. Now, if we zoom out and we go over the Kentucky River District, their health department, which covers 7 counties, not Lee, Leslie, Letcher, Owsley, Perry, and Wolf, we can see that there are not that many hospitals there. If we click here on Leslie County, there's one here in Perry County, and there's one here in Letcher County. Now, that's not saying that we can't use other hospitals' resources like Breathitt County, but what you have to understand is that for us here, it's a little more critical because we have an unhealthier population. Just take a look at the most recent county rankings. Eastern Kentucky ranks in the bottom quartile essentially for health, meaning the people who get COVID-19 out here will get it more severe. Now, that's not saying we don't have the resources at our local hospitals, but we are at a point where since we haven't been hit so hard, we can be more proactive instead of reactive.
It's kind of hitting us at last, the area of the state to be fully engaged. That's a good thing for us because we're seeing how other areas have dealt with the virus, its characteristics, what's going on. And hopefully by the time the surge is over in other parts of the state, that's when the surge will be going on here. So should we extend our resources and need support from others, then we could call in that support.
Now, in talking with Scott Lockhart, he says Hazard's ARH has a little more than 250 hospital beds and roughly around 50 ventilators. And when we do see a surge of COVID-19 patients in the area, Hazard's ARH would more than likely be one of the hubs for those patients to go to. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Connor, some interesting and important information there, and he'll have more tonight at 11. Some important news tonight for those living on the West Virginia line. It appears Williamson Memorial Hospital, just across the Pike County border, will stay open. A buyer for the hospital was approved in bankruptcy court today. Williamson Health and Wellness Center made the announcement of the potential buy, which would cost them more than $3.5 million. Earlier this week, you might remember, the hospital announced it would be closing in late April amid this coronavirus pandemic. As healthcare workers continue to test and treat COVID-19 patients, many are showing their thanks and appreciation. In Hazard, Game On is printing shirts that read, "Andy says I'm essential," with the outline of Kentucky and a surgical mask on them. The idea came from someone their graphic designer and screen printer knows, one of those essential workers.
My girlfriend works at a hospital, and she was just saying that nobody's made a shirt like that yet. And so, me being bored in quarantine, I just went ahead and whipped it up.
It took Estep about 10 designs before he settled on this one. They can be bought at Game On in Hazard. Today, businesses in Hazard and Perry County are limited by the city and county as to how many people are allowed inside at once. It came on the heels of the county's first positive COVID-19 case. WYMT's Will Puckett has more tonight from his home. Will?
Steve, it was an idea that county and city officials had mulled over for about a week. There was an expectation, as many have, that there would eventually be a case here in Eastern Kentucky in Hazard and Perry County specifically. Now, when yesterday's results came in about that positive case, county and city officials sent down the order saying that only one adult member of any family can go in and shop. It was in this news conference where the order was made official.
But we are going to sign an executive order from the county and the city mandating that you have to, only one person per family go into these stores. And that will start today.
Knowing it is the first of the month and many families would pour into grocery stores, this is a decision that had to be made.
Well, we knew that the next couple of weeks is our most critical weeks and that we need to put every action we can in place.
This puts a prime focus on social distancing, a key at slowing the spread and flattening the curve.
Maybe this is a time for everybody to take this serious and we can get through this in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Officials say 9 out of 10 people are praising their decision, but there are some who think this is going a bit too far.
Most people, like the mayor said, is very pleased. There's a few that wants exceptions and don't think the rules apply to them, and I think there's a few that actually just don't understand how serious this is.
Hazard police officers were out at the major stores early Wednesday, hoping to help anyone who was looking for answers.
And so far it's worked out real well. I'm real pleased with the attaboys and the turnout that we've had.
As we all continue to adjust to this new normal. Now, when new orders are sent down, we often receive a lot of questions. How will they enforce this and so on? The Hazard City police officials say that they can cite and can arrest people if they do not follow by these rules. But they hope that they won't have to resort to that people will start understanding the magnitude of this situation. Now, Steve, I will say that we did call to several of our largest grocery stores here in Hazard. I was told that their headquarters told them not to speak to us. Steve?
All right, Will Puckett, thank you very much. I'll also mention that we've received word from several other counties and cities today that they're implementing the same steps that Hazard and Perry County are implementing as to one person per family in stores. Several counties and cities we've heard from this afternoon are doing the same thing. Now, Lakeview Park in Frankfort is likely to be the first place to offer a state-backed drive-up coronavirus testing location. State officials say the park will be used as a pilot site. Tents, security, and protective supplies are already in place. Governor Beshear says the state will start with just one site, with testing limited to first responders and those at highest risk. A Lexington company could be part of testing for a COVID-19 vaccine. Researchers at Alliance Multi-Specialty Research previously performed migraine and tobacco studies. Their success awarded them the chance to be a backup lab for COVID-19 vaccine studies. Two other labs, one in Kansas City and another in Philadelphia, are the first awarded. Should they not be able to meet the requirements, Lexington will be asked to step up.
The question when it comes to what we do as far as the studies is does it work as advertised? Does it have any other fallout issues? So it's more of a information gathering.
When Dr. Adams says fallouts, he means things like, does the vaccine give people a rash or a fever? If so, he'll report those findings and try to find a way to fix it.